This is round 3 with Andrew Augustyniak. Actually, round 1. We had some technical difficulties, so this episode will not be live streamed, but it will be posted probably 30 minutes after this interview. So
I'll come in for another live one with
what?
Seth Banda.
Seth Banda is going to be on the show next week. He hasn't agreed to it, but yeah.
Presented by Empire West.
Yeah, this episode is presented by Empire West. See, we're plugging the Empire West. All right, so today we're going to be talking about quite a few things. We have a special guest. Actually, I got it all backwards. Yeah. We're on the Real Estate Pro Show on Lister Pros TV. Today, we're in the studio with Andrew Augustyniak of People's Mortgage. He is the #1 lender team at People's Mortgage. He's done over $100 million worth of volume in the last 18 months. So today, specifically, we're going to be talking about how to turn one client into 5, down payment assistance, refinancing, when or when not to, buying investment properties, and talking about growing your business on referrals. So welcome to the show, Andrew Augustyniak.
Thank you.
Now that was second round, so I think I got it right this time. But Andrew's got it right. He's brought me gifts today, so we're gonna open this up, see what we got.
Uh-oh.
He's the cut man. Oh wow, stainless steel. Wow, this is nice. This is nice.
Of course it is.
People, man,
you've upped your high class here.
You've upped your game over the last few years, man. I think it
started out with bagels a long time ago.
Used to just be bagels, and now we got. Man, this is nice. You giving people stuff that they're gonna use. Got your phone number on there. Perfect. It's gonna go right here.
Zoom in there.
Right here on the show. Let me put it right here on this angle right here. Look at that. Nice.
Keeps it cold for 48 hours.
Hey, I know. I read that. That's nice. Well, thanks for the gift, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Definitely gonna be using that here. And welcome to the show. Let's do a quick intro on yourself. For those that don't know who you are, where do you come from? What's your background? How long you been at People's Mortgage?
Okay. First thing, I have to tell a little backstory about Jordan. So.
Oh man, this is gonna get dangerous here.
Back when I started in lending was when Jordan was at Treehouse. Are you still technically licensed?
I am still licensed at Treehouse Realty, yep.
So back in the day, before Treehouse Realty, it was Perkinson Properties with Danny, who was the guest yesterday, right? Or the 2 days ago?
Yeah, a couple days ago, and he wants me to go back to Perkinson Properties for whatever. Anyways.
Well,
I can't keep up with that guy.
I know, right? He's here and there. But I love you, Danny. No, I remember the days where Jordan was starting Lister Pros, getting like 50 wooden big posts stacked in his Prius.
Oh man.
And he had
the danger zone.
The one Prius, and then I remember this one day where you're like, oh, I got to go with the vinyl. Remember you ordered the vinyl signs, and you're like, oh, these got to be high quality. And then the vinyl gave you a headache, so you went back to the wood posts.
Exactly. Yep.
And then at that time was the time where I was starting out, and I would come every Tuesday to Perkinson Properties with Einstein's Bagels, and it was Bagel Day. And that's how this whole thing started. And look at Lister Pros now. It's rocking.
Man, look at you guys, #1 over here, man. People's Mortgage just dominating the lender space. But overall, it's just how you run your business. It doesn't really matter if you're a real estate agent, if you're a lender, if you're a title guy.
A medical sales rep.
Yeah, people like to work with you or whoever, because of you, it's not necessarily, I'm sure you could move from People's Mortgage to somewhere else and people would still want to do business with you just because of the person that you are. One thing about Andrew, which I remember whenever I was, we were buying a lot of properties for Blackstone back in the day, and that's you would come in. But Andrew was kind of like the second tier. He came in, there was a family member of somebody in the office that was supposedly the primary lender, but nobody really sent him too much stuff. We all got drawn into Andrew. And Andrew, even though I remember some of those meetings were kind of awkward just because it's one or two, and Andrew was the consistent guy that was showing up consistently with the bagel. So I remember that. This is what I remember. So Andrew plays the marathon game. He doesn't run the sprints. If you're trying to convert your one thing of bagels into a immediate sale, that's not going to get you the results. That's not going to get you to $100 million in 18 months. He's playing the marathon game. He's lining up. He's running his business like a business, and Man, that's what resonated with me. I was like, man, he's coming into a hostile environment. He doesn't care. He's showing up. He's bringing more value. He's actually, I believe you're educating us more instead of like, oh, it's a sales pitch for why use me. So that
it's a non-sales sales strategy. But no, it's a complete marathon game, and that's what we built our team off of, is just longevity. Because, I mean, even then was when I was the let's say, quote-unquote backup lender for Perkinson Properties. I'm still the backup lender for many brokerages right now, or teams, just because I don't look at like the short term, like, hey, what do I got to give you me business? It's more so value added and marathon game, and realizing that our strategy brings the retaining business and the referral business in turning one client into 5 clients. And that's what we've lived by ever since the bagel days at Perkinson Properties. Hey, remember that one time where I brought nutrition bars?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember?
Uh-huh.
So one day I was running super late to Perkinson Properties, and I had like 10 minutes, and I didn't tell you why I brought nutrition bars, but I just brought them. But I'll tell everybody now, and if Danny's listening, then he'll laugh at this. But so a lot of my clients work for Weider Global Nutrition, and good buddies of mine. And at that time, we shared an office with them. Not shared an office, but we were in the same office.
Right.
Good friends of mine, Scott DeRusha, Anthony Kane, Fast Clay. And I did just say Fast Clay.
Fast Clay.
Best name ever. Good review yesterday. He left for us on our Facebook page.
Cool.
But so those guys, they had protein and protein bars and all this stuff in their office, and I'd always just, like, every day whenever I needed like 10 minutes to just cool off or anything, I'd just go walk and hang out with them. So one day they had these prototype nutrition bars, and they had a huge box of them. Hey, test them out. Like, they don't have a huge shelf life because they were all organic and something.
Yeah.
So they gave me this huge box, and I had them at the house. And it was like, I had like 10 minutes to drive from South Gilbert to Perkinson Properties, which was North Mesa, which is a straight shot up Greenfield, and it took me a good 30 minutes. And I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, I don't have time to go get bagels. Like, I'm going to be late. So I call Seth to bring the drinks at that time. And I was like, nutrition bars, we're going to play it healthy today. So I brought these prototype nutrition bars. And I remember throwing them on the table, and then Danny's like, wow, we're going healthy today. And there were these organic nutrition bars. Like, they're good, but it was like,
everybody was kind of thrown off guard. It's like, we got these carb packed bagels every week, and now we got these like
unmarked, no nutritional facts, no name. It was a silver package, and everybody's just like, what the heck did you just bring us?
No, I think.
Hey, that was called.
I do remember that. Sorry.
That was called thinking on the fly.
Yeah, there we go. See, you had to deliver something, man. We're associating
it's
Andrew
all about
with
the delivery.
Something. There we go.
All right, so wait, do you want me to introduce myself? So
yeah, let's introduce yourself. That was a great story. That was a great intro.
I like this table.
This table is awesome. Plug for my buddy Trevor. He gave it to me for free.
Really?
But if you want a table like this, actually Danny's getting a couple. So, anyways,
I like the concrete.
Reach out to me if you want a cool concrete table.
Good to know. So Andrew Augustyniak, People's Mortgage. I've been there for a long time. I actually was a professional golfer before becoming a lender. Went to University of Nevada in Reno. Did the professional golf thing for about a year and a half. Just played on the little mini tour circuit. And about a year and a half into it, just got burnt out.
Are you better than Danny? Danny's good at golf, man.
I'll be honest and I'll say yes, I'm better than Danny.
He's easy. All right.
But we have a lot of mutual friends. So even before meeting Danny, we had a ton of mutual friends. Jeff Egan, do you know him?
No.
So he's a buddy of ours. But anyways, so got into lending. It was a struggle playing golf because I was trying to make it on the mini tour. Just playing in little local semi-pro events and all that stuff, and it's almost like double A baseball.
So were you playing? Okay, is there money at these tournaments?
Yes.
Like you're trying to make a living off of mini pro tournaments.
But honestly, at that point, you're not trying to make a living. You're really just trying to get a breakthrough. Because the living is I was a CrossFit trainer in the mornings. Remember, I was
right.
CrossFit.
Yeah. You were
I was
big into that.
CrossFit trainer, teaching classes, So that's where I made some money. And then I'd play golf during the day. And then in the evenings, I'd be a waiter at Spaghetti Factory.
Oh, man.
And it was just constant. And my wife would tell you, like, it was just nonstop. And then I'd make my rounds because then I'd come back, hang out with my now wife, but I'd hang out with her, go to bed at like midnight, and then do it all again. And so about a year and a half into it, it was a tough thing. And the living was made off the CrossFit and the Spaghetti Factory. Golf, honestly, at that point, there's money involved, but it wasn't substantial enough. You're really just trying to, hit that one good tournament and then make it into a bigger tournament and then, have that breakthrough or something like that. So about a year and a half into it, I got burnt out and I lost my love for the game. And it was, I didn't want to risk the next 15 years of my life for a chance. And a buddy of mine, who's now one of my best friends, Jay Ray, he had been in lending for a while, and he just said, "Hey, I think you'd be a good lender." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and joined him about 5 years ago, and then just got real estate. Real estate's like a drug. You get into it, and if you have that hustler mindset, you're like, okay, I could make something of this. And then got licensed within 2 weeks, and then just took off, and at that time was the refi boom and the boom of the investors. And so it was a good time to get in because it wasn't the waves now where there's a ton of realtors getting into it, a ton of new lenders getting into it, after the fact.
Right.
It was a good time to get established, but more so, I was the youngest by far at that time. And so I saw a lot of opportunity. If you can hustle in any sales game, and that's what I learned from very quickly, was if you can hustle in this game, you can do very well. But if you bring value to your potential clients, then you can do 10 times the amount of business as everybody else. Because a lot of people at that time weren't. There was the lenders who would sit behind their desks all day and just kind of chill there and wait for the contract and didn't really do anything to create more business off of that.
Yeah.
And then just built the team we're about 10 people strong right now.
So how deep are you? So how long have you been a lender for? 4
to 5 years. This is my fifth full year.
Fifth full year as a lender, and over the last 18 months, you've done $100 million in volume. I'm sure you're number one in people's mortgage, but in comparison with other people, you're doing pretty dang well at year. That's relatively early. But let's talk about the marathon game, because that's got to be part of the strategy. I'm sure you've seen people come in and out of the business because they're short-term minded. So how long did it take you to get established and to actually be generating decent amount of business when you first started? Because being Mr. Bagel Man and stuff, and Mr. adding value and educating people and doing different things like that won't necessarily. It's not that salesy approach. Oh, use me today and I'll give you this deal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, but and so we'll talk about that, and then also, you can't grow your business to this level without delivering a solid product.
Yeah.
So you have got to have a solid in place, especially when we're talking about turning one client into 5. That experience has to be top notch.
Yeah. So that when I got into it, I quickly noticed that realtors, lenders, title people, like at that time it was more like the lead game. Remember, it's all leads, and it was more of the quick deal here, there, and or Zillow leads and all these different ways to get leads. But I was like, how do you build long-term successful
it's
business?
Like the cold leads game, like trying to convert them and spending all your time converting these little things.
And I quickly noticed that you know how they have that ratio that they tell all the realtors, like 8 out of 10 realtors drop out within a year or 2 years or whatever statistic it is. And I was like, why is that? Well, it's because when anybody gets into it, the lender, the realtor, they're mostly taught to, hey, this is what you need to do. This is the generic mold to go into. You got your cold call leads, your expired listings, or on the lending side, you got your lending tree leads, or even Zillow as well. And that's what everybody was told to do. And I'm like, that's probably why everybody drops out, because they fit into the mold, but the mold isn't proving to be successful, because if that was the case, then 2 out of 10 would drop out if the mold was perfect.
Yeah.
But as we know in business, as you know in business, you have to be different to stand out, be successful, and create that much more business. So as a lender, when I got into it, I was like, okay, how do I become different? How do I take a look at all my colleagues and I say, okay, what's the positives and what's the negatives? What do I like and what do I not like? What is that person? What's his strength and what's his weakness? And can I take all the strengths of everybody and put them into one? And luckily at that time, like I could literally observe everybody, because I was marathon game. I wasn't worrying too much about the quick deal, because I was still waitering at night.
CrossFit and weight.
I had CrossFit, dude.
Yeah, bro, you're making it. You had made it already.
I have a dad bod now, and it's really depressing.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me. I wish I could work out as much. Are you still cycling?
Yes, I'm doing like Ironmans now.
Really?
Yeah. So I try to diversify. I got kind of bored with that. Anyways.
It's okay. It's okay to go off topic.
Yeah. So yeah,
all right.
Ironmans now.
What I did is I've always had this common belief that simple is effective. If you look at any business, small business, big business, as clients, we always remember the little things that they did. For example, my pool guy, Jacob, awesome guy. Shout out to Jacob. He's super awesome. He will come check the pool if I need anything. He will come out of his way to fix something, check something, and that the whole pool service I care less about. But the fact that he will do that and not complain about it, and he's just there, hey, you need me, call me, something like that. That makes the difference in the world, and that motivates me to refer him and give him shout-outs. Bug guy, for example. The bug guy, the guy who says, hey, if I get semi-monthly, or I get a treatment every 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, if you notice a surplus of bugs showing up, spiders, scorpions, that's abnormal, call me. I'll come and spray for free. And that stands out to me. The whole bug service I care less about. I care less who I use. But the guy who does that one little thing makes a difference. So in real estate, in mortgage, and title, that's where I think people lack is focusing on being simple. Because as realtors, we're sold everything. Or you guys are sold everything. But as lenders, we're sold everything too. You're sold everything. I have my buddy Josh Walsh calling me. I told him he was going to be live. So he's probably like, why aren't you live right now? Should I go live on my phone?
I mean, if you want to. Go.
They won't hear us.
Feel free.
They won't hear us, will they?
No, they'll hear us talking. We should. Here. Prop it up here. Sorry, quick quick audio, And so
quick commercial break for Empire West title. Seth Banda. Okay, we go.
All right, cool. So I'll do a quick recap. So we actually we haven't gotten into too much of the meat and potatoes on down payment assistance, but we're still on this is the most interesting part of it is, how you're getting into turning that one client into 5 and working off of referrals.
Okay, so anyway, so we're talking about simple is effective, and so at that time, I had that philosophy, right? Simple things stand out because that's what motivates me to tell everybody about the pool guy, my bug guy, all that stuff. But when I got into it in 2011, 2012, I felt like it was all being sold stuff, or nobody cared about the details of the transaction. It was more of just like getting it closed, or spending the money to get the leads, but there wasn't any details to like making it actually a memorable experience for the clients, right? So it's 2012. I'm sitting back. I'm observing. I'm doing the marathon game because I had my spaghetti factory job, and I was like, okay, so. When we started the team, we built it on 3 simple concepts. That's it. We're going to focus on the 3 simple concepts, and we're going to perfect it. Communication was number 1. Communication in this industry is so important because even though we don't want to be on our phones all the time. Let's be honest. How often are you on your phone?
I mean, decent amount.
Decent.
I try. You know what? I have a strategy. I want to talk. I'll talk about that on another episode.
Okay.
But I got a strategy of how I.
Well, you have 5 kids?
I have 4 kids, so I get spread really thin. So I like turn off the immediate notifications, and I make it a point to check.
Yeah.
And then anyway, so it helps me stay focused, because if I get all these I get nothing done. That's just how I work. Some people can be interrupted all day long, and no problem.
And there is many people who shut off their phone at 5, and I totally
Bro, we were texting last night at like 11 o'clock.
8 to 5, like the old school 2005. Like it was so you could just shut off. It wasn't all electronic technology, all that stuff. But unfortunately, we're in a day where offers are being written after hours and all that stuff. So back in 2012, I'm like, okay, communication has to be number one. Being available. If I'm going to be, at that time, 23 and differentiating myself from everybody else, what's the number one key to doing that? Being available, communicating with your clients, developing that relationship, and wanting them to text me and not treat me like the bank. I'm not the big bad bank, the 9 to 5, 800 numbers. I want my clients to text me, because if they text me, we have broken through the barrier of I'm your mortgage lender. Now I'm your friend, and I'm there for you. And that's how I bring value to the realtors, is they can say, hey, text your lender, call your lender, do anything like that, because he's there for you. And that brings value to them, because, hey, what we were talking about before, that's that one little simple aspect that motivates that client to refer to me and my referral partner, realtor, to their team, because we're both available for them. We're there when they're freaking out at night and stressing out about their house or the mortgage payment or anything like that. Text me. If that's going to make you sleep that much better at night, just text me or call me. But more so, that's that simple concept that they're going to remember 2 years from now, and that's going to motivate them to refer us. So number one was communication. Second concept to our simple business model was, instead of spending money on leads and all this stuff, how do I take, once I do have that client, and we'll talk about how to take one client, one of those, but once I do have that client, that one client is worth more than any amount of Zillow leads or Trulia leads or conversion leads, for that matter, because that one person is worth and not even just 5, but 50 to 75 potential clients, because they know, let's say you have 5,000 Facebook friends, there's so many more business opportunities that come from that one person. So instead of just getting them in contract, finding them in the house, and going through the motion, now the real fun starts. So number 2 in our business model was just creativity. Once we're in contract, doing everything little that they're going to remember, but making that little thing amazing. So for example, when we start a contract, we immediately send a present or a case of water or something like that, or a Yeti cup.
There we
Yeti
go.
Cup.
You guys missed it. The Yeti cup. This thing is awesome. All right, no. I'm keeping this. You know what? I'm gonna start drinking out of this right now.
Put it in there. So and yet everybody loves Yeti cups because they're big right now.
48-hour cold, man. What's not to love?
I know. I mean, come on. Capacity 30 fluid ounces.
And blender bottle? You kidding me?
People's mortgage. You know what I'm saying?
No more plastic poisoning, man. We're good.
Hey, whatever temperature that is, it's staying that temperature for 2 days.
I'm going to text you at 11 o'clock at night if my Yeti cup is not cold.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, whoever wants a Yeti cup, message below. You'll get a Yeti cup. Anyway, so when we start a contract, we send something to their workplace because that's the last thing they're expecting to come from their lender, a gift. And realtors should do that too, but sending it to basically open up, like you've just gotten a contract on your first home, your next home, your whatever it is, and
they're excited,
and I need to keep fueling that fire. So we send something small to their workplace because they're at their workplace. They're hopefully they're enjoying themselves, but many people aren't. It's the workday. Having gifts show up in front of all of their co-employees making them feel special, congratulating them on getting in contract with their house. Number one, you've just made your client feel amazing. And especially it's coming to them, it's like in front of everybody, like, wow, who just sent you that gift? Oh, it's my lender. Like, they're awesome. We just got in contract. Meanwhile, think about it. That's the value to bring to your realtors as a lender.
Like, I didn't get that gift from Wells Fargo.
I know.
What happened?
Wells Fargo doesn't care about me? No, because it's all about how to make this client want to refer us to all their friends and family, turning them into 5 to 10 more clients. So number two, you made them feel special at work, but number two, now all of the people they work with. Oh, what's wrong?
Sorry. I was just making sure.
Oh, you're good.
I shared
Got it.
Anyway.
Come on, this is
all right.
already.
I know this is our moment.
Okay. But number two, now everybody around them has noticed, and that's just in their direct workplace. So now you've kind of just planted a seed with 5 to potentially 50 people who work around them. Be like, you just got a gift from buying a house at work, like. Okay, so you planted a seed. So now it's real estate and any type of sales industry is about planting seeds, watering the seeds, and hoping that seed grows here, that seed grows here, that seed grows here. So we start off that transaction with a boom. Okay, keep fueling the fire of hey, you just got in the contract. This is awesome, as opposed to getting in a contract and then just being stressed out and going through the inspection process and the appraisal process and getting all the paperwork that our team asked for. It can be stressful. So we have to do those little things to keep them excited, motivated, and impressed. Throughout the process, we do little video updates. You're all technology and videos and all that stuff. So we do video updates as well.
Like about the process?
About the process.
Cool. That's great.
Well, most people are visual learners. The mortgage process can be so stressful and overwhelming, and it's almost like getting blood sample. Like the next thing they think we're going to ask for is a blood sample, which could be true one day.
Yeah.
But
at least you're in communication. They know what to expect in the future, so they're not caught off guard. So I think that's keeping them on the same page. That's a powerful tool.
Exactly. And the video updates, I mean, it's nothing extravagant. It's simple. It's a simple, fun. It's a funny, quirky, goofy video.
I gotta watch these, man.
Oh, you like it? Yeah, they're super informative, and they're just on the main process. You've entered the documentation stage. You've entered the appraisal stage. You're final approved, and it's a 1 to 1.5 minute video that's funny, informative. But for most people who don't understand what's going on, it's educational. So they understand, okay, this is what it is. I would rather watch a quick little 1 minute video than being explained. It's hard to explain the mortgage process besides the fact that it's so evasive and annoying and frustrating. So these little video updates, it's that one little thing to keep watering that seed. You just send them a gift at work. Now they got these cool video updates to help me understand the process. Like, I feel like my lender and my realtor truly care about me. And the third, so that's kind of what we do throughout the process. Number 3 was closings. Closings, when I bought my first house, was so boring. The realtor didn't go to the signing. Obviously, the lender didn't, because it was most lenders don't go to the signing. But it was a very unimpressive closing to my first house, right?
Right.
So if I'm going to do all of these little things, differentiate myself as a lender, and this goes for realtors and title or whatever, if I want to differentiate myself and increase the probability of that one client being motivated to refer me to 5 more, closing is the icing on the cake. If we're going to do all these cool things, if the realtor is going to kill it throughout the contract, kill it throughout escrow, do amazing work for your client, if you don't end it with fireworks, then all that crap was worthless. Really.
Right.
Because it's about that. They're going to remember that, and they're not going to remember the transaction. So our team, and back in 2012, this is something that I want to perfect, was our team focuses on closings. We have somebody go to 99% of the closings, unless they're double booked or something like that. But we have Theo. Theo's kind of our business relations marketing person. Super exciting, but she goes to every signing to make the client feel comfortable. If anything needs to get done, guess what? She can call right on speed dial to the closer or anything like that. She comes with gifts.
The Yetis.
You're
setting by example, man. That's
takes pictures with the clients.
Wow.
Hopefully the realtors there. I highly recommend every realtor should make every single closing. If you're not, then you're missing opportunity, because that could make the difference between 1 referral to 5 referrals. Being involved with them throughout the whole way, holding their hand, being at the closing, and then our team takes pictures with everybody, makes it exciting. When you're buying your first house, second house, any house, that closing, it can either be really boring or really exciting. And our team's main prerogative is to make it really exciting. Post it on social media later. You look at our team page, you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
We post almost every single closing a picture of the clients, and it shows that they're happy. And then you tag it, all their friends see it, the realtors are tagged into it. Now you've truly taken this one client and you've done everything you can to turn them into 5 more, as opposed to just getting them in contract
and just going through the motions and treating it as a one-off transaction, and you're done.
Exactly.
And then you're back to the drawing board. But it sounds like throughout the process you built it's simple stuff. It's not mind-blowing or anything like that. It's just executing on the small things that
that they're gonna remember,
that they remember. And
and it doesn't end there. And this is probably the most important thing that I'm gonna say right now is, once that client gets their keys, most lenders, most realtors will check out. They're done. They made their money. I hate to say it, but they made their money. Their client closed, and they're good. But still, for the next 3 years, that one person is still worth more than $300 in Zillow leads at the end of the day. So it shouldn't end there. The next thing would be like, hey, do we want to partner and throw them a housewarming party? What's the easiest way to meet your client's friends? Housewarming party. So if the client's up to it, if the realtor's up to it, then what we like to do is co-host a housewarming party and invite all their friends, all their family, and that's how you that. Now you're taking this relationship and you're taking it past business.
Mm-hmm.
You're making it almost personal.
Yeah.
And a long-term friend, somebody who truly appreciates it. We're going to ask them what kind of food they want, what kind of drinks they want. Do they want a soda bar? Do they want a keg? We did a 23-year-old's first home a couple months ago, and he had a kegger. It's like you make it exciting for the clients.
Yeah.
And you take it into the friend zone, because this is a referral type business, and any long-term successful lender, realtor, title person, insurance agent, sales rep, you turn it into a friendship to a certain extent. Obviously, you're a business and you have personal, but if you're working 99% off referral, it has to be some form of friendship, and that's our goal is to meet all their friends, their family, friend them on Facebook, so they can keep seeing us. We want to plant the seed with everybody possible, and then for the next 3 years, water the seed, and that's how you potentially turn one client into 5, hopefully 10, hopefully 20.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've laid it out there exactly what you need to do, and I think people can connect the dots of how those activities will lead to potentially 5 more client referrals. And being number one at People's Mortgage, I can tell you that there's not a whole. You would have competition if other people were doing it in that manner. My assumption is that a lot of other lenders are chasing these Zillow leads, or these people that are hitting you up, hey, join my lead program. But
I can't tell you how. But like a few buddies of mine, a few realtors, how many times a day do you still get this,
bro?
Do you still get
calls?
the calls and the texts from lenders saying, hey, do you have any pre-quals that I can help you with today? And it's not about that. As a lender,
I don't know you.
Yeah. If I had one, I'd give it to you.
Right.
And since I got into the business, that was the last thing that I wanted to do, was annoy my realtors and say, hey, do you have any pre-quals for me today? No, if you had a freaking pre-qual, you'd give it.
I don't think that's ever come out of your mouth that I've ever heard, But at the end of the day, you are one of the 2 lenders that stand in my head, that are doing stuff that stay in front of you, even though we're not face to face all the time.
Yeah.
You stand out.
Man, you have 4 kids. I just had my second kid. I don't know how you stay awake or ever get time to sleep. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and that's the thing. You stay connected via social media, and that's a perfect example of we all have families, we have kids, and all of that stuff. But we want to plant seeds with our clients, with their clients' friends, and we want to stay connected to social media. You have to have a social media presence nowadays because everybody's just so busy. Time is hard.
And I think, people can just connect the dots that, all these activities, how social media plays into this, how the gifts, how everything. So, man, I think we covered it from head to toe on turning one client into 5. Now let's get more into the specifics about people's mortgage, not necessarily people's mortgage, but down payment assistance. What are some of the maybe misconceptions about lending? Like, oh, I don't have enough money saved and my credit's too bad. Maybe some down payment assistance programs that are currently out there that people may not know about. Refinancing, or I guess we'll tackle one at a time. Down payment assistance. Let's talk about that.
All right. So, quick positive note is how home ownership is at an all-time low. So that means there's a lot of opportunity out there for first-time home buyers or home buyers in general, realtors, lenders, etc. And with that being said, there's a ton of down payment assistant grant programs that are available as well. These grant programs range from receiving anywhere from 2.5% up to 5% in grant assistance. On a $370,000 house, that's upwards of $19,000 in grant funds, and grant funds do not have to be paid back. Excuse me. Minimum credit scores for these programs are 620, 640, 660, depends on the logistics of the individual, and that will determine how much they qualify for. But no matter what the credit score is, you should always be proactive about. If you know your credit score is below that doesn't mean give up.
Right.
Everybody at one point in time will be able to qualify for a house to a certain extent, but it's just a matter of being proactive, seeing exactly where you stand, having us evaluate it, see, hey, this is why you're short. Go fix this. Go call these collectors and negotiate for them to remove the collection off your credit report. Go take care of this judgment. Go do this. Be knowledgeable of what's on your credit record because, and I'll give you a good example, is most people don't even realize that 90% of individuals have like a medical collection sitting there for like $100 that may be lowering their score 50 points.
Wow.
And that's just, the medical collection game is very kooky to a certain extent, where you might have a situation where insurance was supposed to pay a bill and they didn't, and you didn't know they didn't pay it, and boom, $100 medical collection. That $100 medical collection probably taking you down that 50 points. So that's the proactivity part of it, is if you want to buy now, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, doesn't matter. Just be proactive and see where you are. You have to have a benchmark.
Right.
Set your benchmark and then work from there. Paying down bills isn't the only thing to do. People are always like, oh, I'm going to pay down my credit cards. Well, that's great, but you have to look at the whole thing. Don't just look at your Credit Karma credit score, because that's not always correct. There's different scoring models. But back to the down payment assistance, awesome programs out there. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer.
Really?
No. We have many people who used down payment assistance last year, and this kind of ties into investment properties, but those people are now turning that house into an investment property, moving up, need a bigger house for family, moving closer to work, et cetera, but they utilized the program last year, and then this year they're utilizing that program again and buying a new primary property.
As long as they don't have so they convert that primary residence into an investment property, and then they're eligible again.
Exactly. As long as your debt to income ratio is fine, which if you qualified before, you're most likely going to.
Now, do you have to make less than a certain amount, or is that eligible for,
Some programs do have an income limit, but there's a new one that doesn't have an income limit. So it just got released last week. No income limit down to 620 credit score. That's an FHA loan. And there's a conventional down payment assistance. That one is called Home Plus. But there's strategies to these programs. There really is. Investment properties is a great income source and building equity and wealth for your family, real estate investing. And if you can make a cash flow off of it, great, on top of the mortgage payment. That's a big goal. So yeah, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You can be a second home buyer. You can be a third-time home buyer. And that's a common misconception. And here's a little secret for everybody is whenever you hear the word first-time home buyer program, there's really not a first-time home buyer program. It's how you market the program. And for realtors, I mean, you can market it however you want. You can call it the teacher program. You can call it the firefighter program. You can call it the Lister Pros down payment assistance program. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just there's 3 main down payment assistance programs, and if somebody says it's a first-time home buyer program, it doesn't mean it's only for first-time home buyers, but that's just how they're marketing it, which is awesome. I mean, more power to you if you figure out how to market it effectively. But yeah, they're super good. There's a great strategy. Take advantage of grant funds if they're out there, because that puts your assets back in your pocket. You can do other stuff with that. You can do home improvements with that. And if you can negotiate seller to pay for some closing costs, all of closing costs, we have many clients get their whole earnest money back at closing.
Really?
So if you can get a house with zero investment, if I could buy $20,000 in stocks for zero, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
So that's down payment assistance programs in a sense.
That's down payment. All right, cool. So I learned some new things from the down payment assistance program. You looking at your fans over here?
I was seeing who. Oh, Ariel DeWitt. Awesome realtor.
Shout out. All right, so let's talk about refinancing. When and when not to refinance. Is right now a good time to refinance?
There's never a bad or good time.
I looked at the trend of rates. It's like rates went up, and now it's like halfway back almost to the levels that it was like a little bit ago.
Not. I mean, the day after the election, rates went up over 0.5%. Right now, they're with everything going on, they're trying to go back down, but they're still nowhere near what they were pre-election. Refinancing, the answer to that would be it depends on your situation. Depends on where you are at, what your long-term goals are, what your short-term goals are. If you can get mortgage insurance off, I think right now, number one, the primary reason would be to get your mortgage insurance off. If you bought any time in the past 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and you haven't refied now, you've probably gained equity. It's almost safe to say that you have. Yeah. And here's kind of this is a perfect world situation. So I had one client use down payment assistance last year, right? Mm-hmm. Got their closing costs paid for, got into the house for literally under $500. Use down payment assistance, so zero investment, right? 9 months later, we ended up refining because their neighborhood skyrocketed. They gained like $60,000 in equity in 9 months. We refied, dropped their rate, got the PMI off.
Wow. Yeah.
Within 9 months, and their payment went down by like $350.
Jeez.
Talk about strategy.
Do that.
You just got the tax benefits of a home investment with your interest write-off, your equity building, your PMI write-off, and now you got all that for zero, and now you got your mortgage insurance off. I mean, talk about making a good
awesome.
return on your zero investment. So I mean, that's number one. Getting PMI off. PMI is never fun if you don't have to pay it. I mean, 90% of individuals will pay PMI. That's just kind of part of the game. But if you've gained equity, get the PMI off. Even if you have to sacrifice a little bit in rate, get the PMI off. It's all about cash flow. For the most part, drop your payment, keep your cash. Unless you're going to keep the house for a long time or you have other plans. Sometimes a 20-year term makes sense. Sometimes a 15-year term makes sense. 15-year term makes sense if you're good with the higher payment and you're probably going to keep the house because you're going to pay that down faster. Usually your payment's not substantially higher.
Because you got a lower rate on those usually,
exactly. Right? But at the end of the year, if you look at your house as look at your equity that you make, and at the end of the year, you put like 3 times more money in that equity pot with a 15-year. So that may be one reason to do it. Refinancing into a different loan, like say you're going to take that loan, you're going to turn that into an investment property, right? Like I was telling you with that other individual, I want to try to keep this payment low because if I'm going to turn that into an investment property, I want to increase my cash flow as much as I can when I rent that out in the future.
Right.
Or I may have an FHA loan. I want to switch it to conventional. FHA keeps mortgage insurance off until you refi. For the most part, there's one situation where it doesn't.
Do you have to refi outside of FHA?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they changed the rules a couple years ago to where it doesn't fall off unless you put a big chunk down on FHA. So what most people do, the minute they are able to refinance to conventional, even if it's just a year later, they're going to get themselves into conventional, because now, even though they're still paying mortgage insurance on conventional, it's going to fall off now.
Yeah.
Because mortgage insurance falls off on conventional. So refinancing, you should always yearly review your mortgage, have your lender have us review it to see exactly where you stand. Are there opportunities to save money? Are there opportunities to restructure? But there's never a bad time, never a good time. It's yearly situational, because your personal situations will change yearly. So just do a yearly review.
Cool. That's informational for sure. And I may have to give you a call to do a little review on my mortgage.
I know.
I've been in that for a while, man. All right, so let's talk about buying investment properties.
Investment properties. So, what do you want to know?
Well, no, it sounds like you already you talked about some strategies when it comes to the lending side, because this person that bought this house with the down payment assistance, and they convert that into an investment property. So maybe expand a little bit more about that. So what, have you seen a lot of what are clients doing? You guys, you do business with a lot of different people. So if people don't have a whole lot of money, how can they get into the buying investment properties? What's the strategy? Maybe their income is, anyways.
So my opinion on investment properties, it's a solid investment. Yeah, we're always going to see decreases in values, increases in values. Same thing goes with rates. We're going to see increases in rates and decreases in rates. But long term, investment's going to be a very stable thing, because you're investing in real property. I mean, I'd hate to say our values are high right now. I don't think we're going to see crashes like we did, because we don't have those mortgage products anymore. But yeah, we're going to see decreases in value, but you're investing in real property. Rent, there's always going to be people renting. Always. Home ownership is at an all-time low. That means people are renting. So whether you buy for a higher price or lower price, you're probably still going to make a good return on your investment, or at least get your mortgage covered. But best case, you're going to make a cash flow on top of it. So investments are good. If you're going to buy just to buy an investment property, the one thing to know is it's going to be 20% down. Investment properties usually require 20% down. If you're buying like a triplex or a fourplex or anything like that, it's going to be a little bit more.
That's only if you're buying right away an investment property. This isn't converting what you have into an investment property and then buying another first time.
Which is a myth, because some people think you have to convert your loan into like an investment loan. Not necessarily. So, the marathon game of picking up investment properties would be, buying it, living in it, and then 2 years from now, your life changes, you need a bigger house, you need to move closer to somewhere else. You turn that into an investment property because you got into that with down payment assistance or 5% down as a primary house. You turn that into a rental, and then you go buy yourself another primary property for the minimum down, because primary properties will always have the less amount down.
Just a question real quick. Is it easy to, from a lending standpoint, do you just need an agreement? This is just like a random question, but do you need an agreement from a renter to constitute that? You know how, your income, if you're trying to play that game, you got to have somebody lined up to rent at an X amount under a contract, right?
Yes.
And then it's.
So if you're going to do it's called buy and retain. If you're going to turn your current primary into a rental and buy a new primary, it's called the buy and retain. And you're exactly right. How do we show the income for that property for qualifying purposes? Because on an investment property, it's actually, if you have the down payment funds, it's actually easier to qualify for investment property, because we can always use rental income, the projected rental income or the contracted rental income, to offset the mortgage payment for your qualifying ratios. So it's actually easier to qualify for it as long as you have the funds. But if you're going to do the buy and retain, where you turn your primary into a rental, all we need is a lease agreement in place. So you have time. Like if you go find a new property for yourself,
right.
You have a month to get it in lease, and usually you can get it some type of lease drawn up, and you need a security deposit. That's all.
So you can kind of project. We can say, hey, rents are about $1,300. You know, we have a month to get that under wraps. But then in the meantime, you can still run the numbers, and I can look at properties that I can potentially buy contingent on finding that lease.
Exactly. So that's exactly what we did with one client right now. He's in contract for his new primary house, a little bit bigger house, closer to work, and he's turning his current primary into a rental. And basically, when we're qualifying him, I tell him, hey, you qualify for up to around X amount, assuming you rent out your current property for at least X amount. So that then in my ratios, I know, hey, as long as you're here or above with your rental income on this contract that you have to get, then you're going to be fine. So we project that, and we tell them, hey, you have to have this much contracted for the lease to be able to qualify. Now, if you don't get that much, then obviously that may lower your pre-qualification. But that's the marathon game. If you can go primary, live in it, life changes, buy new primary, turn that into rental, buy new primary down the road, turn that into rental. That's the marathon game of picking up investment properties. But I mean, the goal here, especially in today's market, is if I can cash flow a good 40% profit on my investment,
which
monthly.
Probably a lot of people are in that situation. You know, they bought low, rates are still low. They could refinance, and the payment's super low, and then they lease it out, and then they use the spread towards their new, you know, it's as income.
Oh, so. 100%. And me and my wife are investors in real estate, and we're landlords. And right now, rates are still historically low. It's kind of funny, though. I tell people
say they're high, but I remember I'm like, my mortgage is still at 5.25, so I'm like 3 something.
You need to refinance.
I know, dude. Like, I don't.
What are you 5.25? Dude, who is this guy?
Dude, from 2009. I don't know. Whatever.
Have you had the same mortgage since 2009?
Yes.
Didn't you work for Wells Fargo?
I did, yes. So, yeah,
anyways, but historically, like, rates used to be at like 8-9% back in the day. So it's kind of funny. People were almost like tainted from the past 5 years of like rates when they were in the threes.
Yeah.
And
we're like, oh my gosh, they're 3.8.
And now they're at like 4.5, and people are like, oh my goodness, what happened? Like, why is this so high? I'm like, that's not high. That's almost normal. It's probably not even normal still.
Right.
So, I mean, you can still buy investment properties. And even if, if you're buying for an investment, like the 20% down, your rate's going to be a lot higher. Investments, higher risk, higher rate. You're probably going to be in the high 4s, low 5s. But you're still going to, in today's market, you're going to be able to cash flow. Like we have a few properties and we cash flow a good 40 to 50% profit on each of them. So that's super exciting. Big thing right now is vacation rentals.
VRBO, and Airbnb, all these. You can't project that. That's not like a lease and ride. You can't use any type of that income. You can be like, I VRBO'd for the last month and I made whatever.
Actually, if you're buying an investment property, right? Mm-hmm. If you're buying the investment property as opposed to the buy and retain where you get the lease agreement, if you're buying it, we actually will still use rental income to offset the payment. It's always easier to qualify for an investment property if you have the assets. Because on the appraisal, it's going to give us an average market rent for the area, and we're going to take that number. So it's no matter what, it's still effective. Vacation rentals on the investment side, I mean, it's definitely higher risk because it's higher turnover. But lately, if you talk to people, a few realtors, Christy Preston, Dustin Preston, they're big on vacation rentals, and you'd be surprised. They have a 25-day average rented out each month because you have people who are transitioning.
And on a daily rate, you're getting significantly higher. But
higher risk, higher reward.
Yeah.
But
it's a game.
It's completely good. I mean, yeah, your long-term rental is obviously more stable, but the vacation rental, I mean, you have people who need housing in between transition from home to home. You have snowbirds. You have people coming in for spring training and all that stuff too. You'd be surprised on the vacation rental side. We have one up in Show Low, and that one does fairly well. Show Low's a good summer spot, winter spot. But yeah, higher turnover, but it's fun.
Sweet, man. Well, this has been very informational and this has been fun, man. We'll have to have you on the show again.
With Seth Banda from Empire West. This is brought to you for Seth Banda. He doesn't want to be on the show.
No, I know. He's scared alive or something. I don't know. we'll have to talk with him. But we thanks for tuning in for this edition of Real Estate Pros on Lister Pros TV, and we will see you guys on the next episode. So,